Hello everybody. On this day in 1904, Cary Grant was born, a smooth, cool, a very attractive actor from the 1930s and 40s films, I suppose the Daniel Craig of the mid-20th century, someone whose looks were very much appreciated and whose skills as an actor too. Apparently a fan said once that even at 116, a picture of Cary Grant wouldn't disappoint. And he certainly thought pretty well of himself as well. Once said of himself, "Even I want to be Cary Grant." At least that was the impression he wanted to give. But underneath was someone who was deeply unhappy. This emerged in quite cruel and vicious behaviour towards his various wives. And he had a habit, apparently, of going into libraries and going through documents looking for his name. But the name he was looking for was not Cary Grant, it was Archie Leach, which is the name he was born with. And he had a very unhappy childhood. His mother had severe mental difficulties following the death of her first child and eventually ended up in an asylum, and his father resorted to booze and to other women and died very young. And so Archie Leach, as he was then, was a very unhappy person, and he used to go into libraries and physically cut out of any document or book that contained a reference to the fact that that was his name before he became Cary Grant. I suppose we all have difficult things in our past that we find it hard sometimes to come to terms with, things that have gone to make us the kind of people we are. And we'd like to sometimes eradicate those things or express our anger about them by doing violence to something like he did to those books. It's much more helpful, of course, isn't it, to try and to come to terms with our past, to really deal with the things in our histories that upset us or make us angry or make us feel unworthy, make us feel insignificant, to come to terms with those things and to deal with them, maybe to talk it over with somebody, but if we possibly can, to learn to come to accept that that's who we are, and to build it into our forward movement as a person, to allow ourselves to embrace every aspect of our history, however painful or unpleasant it might be. Cary Grant produced some wonderful films, but perhaps even more beneficial to him and to everybody else it would have been had he, instead of perhaps going to the library and deleting those references to his first name, if he'd actually come to terms with it, so that perhaps he could say, instead of "even I want to be Cary Grant," if he'd learned to say, "even I want to be Archie Leach," now that would have been a triumph. And I think it's something we can all aim for, to try and embrace everything about our past, however painful, and make it part of who we are now and who we are becoming.